Hey everyone, hey Simon, Nick here, talking from Pointe Calumet in Quebec at my favorite catamaran racing club. They have some really high performance catamaran here, and I've been hired here to teach sailing for the summer. Just wanting to answer the question about like how well does my boat, the Bavaria 40 that I bought brand new in 2013, perform in heavy weather. So obviously, there's a few things to say about that. The first thing would be to define heavy weather. I find more and more as I'm sailing around and as I'm cruising. I'm at 50,000 miles now in the last 8 years. That people have varying different definition of what's heavy weather. So for some people, 25 to 35 knot might be some heavy weather. For some people, heavy weather might start as low as 15 knots and some, really established seas. Uh, I've had my boat up to 50 knots in the first season I was on the East Coast, and I had a solidly established 52, 53 knots. And I'm talking like this is a production boat. Um, at the time, the boat was brand new, and I had not. It was my first boat, so I was sort of learning to be a boat owner at the time, and but I had a lot of sailing background behind me, so that's why I was out in those conditions, and I was not too worried about it. And that's actually the first experience I have with the Bavaria in what I consider heavy weather. I've learned since then. Now, I wouldn't get the boat all out voluntarily in anything above 25 knots. Not that the boat cannot take it. It took it just well when I took the boat out. Like I say, I was off the coast of Georgia in 2013, the very first season I had the boat, and 50 knots of wind. The sails are out. The Selden rig. I can't talk like there are many good things and bad things about any boat, but any boat that has a furling main Selden rig is a boat that is crazy cool and very well designed for short-handed or single-handed sailing, whether that be offshore in heavy seas or in calm seas, or if you're not racing, that Selden rig is something of an amazement. Like I can't have enough good words of it. The boat, the Autopilot, the Garmin electronic suite performed just fine. The Autopilot drive unit performed just fine. uh, when all of this stuff is in good shape and working well, uh, that boat can handle weather up to 50 knots. I have no problem. I would not, I don't know why or who would like to go out in above 50 knots of wind. I mean, since then, I've adjusted my sailing. The boat handles the conditions well on the point, but it's taking a toll. Like it comes with a maintenance tab. For example, like I had to change the autopilot drive unit about 3 years into owning the boat. Now, the unit had close to 25,000 miles of sailing at the time, so it came to the end of its life and it stopped functioning, and I had to buy a new one, which that Lumar unit cost about $2,000, so it's part of my cost of sailing. Uh, I don't know because I've never used a like an hydraulic pump and piston kind of autopilot, and so I don't know how much better and how long that longer that would last. I just know that for the Lumar drive unit, when it comes to I've logged 25,000 miles on one unit, I'm starting to think about buying a new one. Now, 25,000 miles is a lot of sailing. That's another thing. Like talking about the durability of the boat, like you have to understand how much mileage I put on that boat. There's a lot of people that will sail 800 miles in, do a Baja Haha type deal, like from San Diego down to the Sea of Cortez, and then for the next 3 or 4 seasons they're in the Sea of Cortez and they won't move out of there. That usage profile is different from me. Let's say taking the boat from upstate New York, Lake Champlain, down to the Caribbean, back up to upstate New York, back down to the Caribbean, from Florida across the Panama Canal. Like these are all trips I've done with this boat. It's a lot more wear and tear on the boat when you start doing those offshore passages on these boats. So I'll quickly touch on another topic that was asked as a question was whether why don't I have a wind vane? It's not that I don't like wind vanes or anything like that, but if I do get a secondary piloting system, it will probably be another electronic autopilot coupled with an hydraulic piston drive kind of setup. So I'd have like two electronic autopilot. I don't dismiss wind vanes or monitors or all of these mechanical boat steering things. It's just that with the folding transom that's on my Bavaria, it's really hard to. I find it really hard to fathom like where am I going to put that wind vane, where am I going to put that monitor, and not lose the usage of the folding transom, which is an awesome feature of my boat. So everything's a give and take. And as a former military airplane pilot, we used to always have like two autopilot and two separate hydraulic systems, and so that's how we manage the risk of getting into a no autopilot system. Now on a sailboat, as long as you have crew that you're at least two, I would say, like, the backup drive system could be just an experienced sailor. Now you need to be a really experienced sailor in order to be like sleep deprived offshore and driving the boat at night and maintaining a heading and maintaining, like, let's say, a broad reach so that you don't like unintentionally jibe or something like that. So you gotta be you gotta be able to do that if you're gonna venture offshore. So how is overall the boat? Like, I've had it, like I say, I've had it in 50 knots of wind the first year. Second year or third year, I was off the coast of Baja in about 35 knots of wind, beating against the weather. The boat took it all. Like, I have to give it to Bavaria. The boat takes it. It shows wear and tear. It shows a need for maintenance when you do that. Uh, and I just go through it and I fix the issue on the boat, and it keeps on working. And I've always felt safe on that boat. And if I don't sell it, I plan on going to Australia with it, and I have no doubt that this boat will take me to Australia. I always plan for the worst. You should always plan for the worst and be equipped properly for offshore sailing. But the boat will do offshore sailing if you make it do it, and if you're smart as a sailor and you set yourself up for success on a passage, you can certainly manage a Bavaria offshore. I have no doubt of that. Now, I for myself, these are the limits. Like I say, I can handle the 50 knots if I need to. I just don't want to. I want to keep it, I would say, nowadays below 25 knots. So since the first season, I've aimed to always keep the boat in seas of less than 25 knots, just because I feel there's less wear and tear happening on the autopilot, on the drive, on the rudder bearings, and even the keel and the hull and all that kind of stuff. I just want to keep the boat in a sort of lower grade of weather to maximize the longevity of it. And I've been doing that ever since 2013. Like, I've learned off on that offshore passage in Georgia that, yeah, my boat can do this, but it, it it's not designed for those heavy seas repetitively. And even if you don't have an unwanted jibe or you don't have a real incident, really you don't want to be doing that to that boat to that level. So and I've set up the boat like as a very light air oriented boat. So I have a folding prop on it, I have a code zero on it, and that allows me to get going at about like 10 to 12 knots, and it brings me close to hull speed. Hull speed's about 7.4 if you do the actual math, 7.2, 7.4, around there. And like in those light conditions, in 10 to 12 knots of wind with the code zero out with the folding prop, I'm actually getting 6 knots, 6.5 knots sometimes. So, you know, and now I have a flat seas. I have a boat that is not getting rocked, that is not getting pounded and worn and all that kind of stuff. So these are the dream sailing conditions to me at the moment, for that boat, for that rig. And that's what I do. That's what that I hunt for those conditions. Like, I try to make it happen that way. Yeah. So other than that, yeah, light air sailing is where this boat shines the most. Obviously, it can take the weather. You can, if you manage that boat well and you're into weather, you're going to be fine. There's not going to be any problem as long as you keep up with maintenance. It's just preferable in my mind to take that boat in some lighter, more tropical kind of sailing, and you can cross the oceans that way. And if I don't sell this boat, I'll make it to Australia that way. Nice talking to you. See you later.